Here we go, another new week, another new month, a whole new Speedway conversation to be had. Welcome back to 360 Speedway. Hello and welcome, hope you're doing well. Once again, a massive thank you for watching last week's episode and for all your interactions on social media. Welcome aboard then to episode number 5 of series 2, now sponsored by Maitland Travel. Right then, another week, another episode, let's get ourselves up to tapes. Introducing this week's lineup of Speedway punditry excellence. Once again, we are running rider replacement and guest facilities this week. I should just say, please don't panic. All the usual suspects, all the regular faces are still on side. I've been corresponding and speaking to all of them. Life, work has got in the way a little bit in recent weeks, but all of them will be back on screen, hopefully very, very soon. However, one familiar face who is a regular on 360, one of the more popular panellists based on some of your feedback, the man, the myth, the legend, someone everyone enjoys listening to on 360, and one of the nicest guys on the Speedway circuit. It's Lambo, Simon Lambert. Well, good evening, Simon.
Evening, Derek. You okay, mate?
I thought you were just testing it. You're testing to see if your microphone wasn't working. I'm fine, Simon. Listen, thanks for stepping back into the breach. Okay, as I say, what we've actually got this week, we've got a guest contributor. So once again, retrospective thanks to Phil Lanning, who stepped in for the duration last week as a guest contributor. We have another one tonight, and the same guest contributor, who I'll introduce in just a second, is going to be the subject of our Fans Pulse Lap 1 interview. So we know you like your interviews here on 360. Fans Pulse Lap 1, sponsored by Maitland Travel, and give you a little bit of insight into a particular club, a resurrected club, and one which has got a steeped in Speedway history, 50 years worth of Speedway tradition. To discuss that and more, I am delighted to welcome on to 360 Speedway our guest contributor and panellist this week. Good evening to you, KIERAN Phillips.
Good evening, Derek. How the devil are you?
Very good, KIERAN. What is your title, KIERAN? Are you co-coordinator or are you co-promoter? What are you labelled as?
Co-promoter, co-facilitator, track man, anything you name it. If it's got to be done, I'll give it a good go at the club.
Excellent. Well, KIERAN, thanks for your company and thanks for stepping in. First of all, let's focus on all things Mildenhall Speedway, please, KIERAN. And Simon, we bring Simon back on screen. Simon, of course, has some fairly recent experience of Mildenhall. He was part of that victorious Peterborough Panthers select who lifted some silverware towards the end of last season. So Simon, well qualified to comment on all things Westro. So KIERAN, first of all, if you don't mind me asking, what is your personal background? How did you get involved in Speedway?
Well, I've been going to Ipswich since I was a babe. It's in the family. I was always at Vauxhall or a Grand Prix somewhere or another. Fast forward and actually getting involved, I started helping up at Mildenhall back in 2022, I believe, just on helping with the fence and other track-related jobs. And then I was offered the position of a machine examiner, which I still hold now, but I do it at King's Lynn. And then, obviously, when we shut the doors at 2023, there was no Speedway. Then Mr. Ribbons came along, and we had a bit of a chinwag, and here we are now.
Mr. Ribbons being Steve, of course, who's your sort of partner in crime at Westro. Good evening to you, Steve, if you're watching. So KIERAN, I mentioned, last year a couple of times, more than once in conversation, Mildenhall came up as a as a bit of a topic of conversation. And Carol Johnson was and Simon obviously spoke about their experience of that meeting, and I think it was at September, October time, wasn't it? But one thing which is quite apparent is there's lots of positive energy in the sort of battle to resurrect Speedway more permanently at Westrow, and it caught our attention. We wanted to have some talk time about it, but one thing that appears to be very much the case, Kieran, outside looking in, it's very much a team and community initiative, isn't it, around the Speedway at Westrow?
Oh yeah, the CIC, who effectively the supporters that own the club, we put the idea to them. It's used in other sports, football. I think there's a few rugby teams as well, and that was primarily to get us up to speed and to get us to get the fan base involved. It's also trustees as well. So all the trustees invested into the club, which effectively got us back to the tape. So, I mean, we did behind the scenes, we did a bit, but the real heroes are the fans. They're the ones that give us the inspiration we needed. To give us the push along. I mean, of course, there was the negatives, but you always get that wherever. But it was really the fans that gave us the push that we needed to, get us back on track. It's a real community spirit. The fans, everyone wants to chip in. Everyone wants to see Speedway at Westrow. It's a club steeped in history.
Yes.
We've got Connor Coles riding for us. Obviously, the Coles family at Mildenhall is synonymous. So, it's a real good feel at the moment.
Good.
The fans are buzzing again.
Good. Can I just sense check my understanding of the CIC that you mentioned? And there might be some people watching, Kieran, who are less unfamiliar with it. So the CIC, I believe, is Community Interest Company, and that's
right.
And that's the kind of business structure, the operating model structure that you've adopted at Mildenhall Speedway. And my understanding of that is that it's a sort of community-owned initiative entity, and all the fans. Are they? I might be using the wrong parlance here, but are they shareholders, stakeholders of equal standing?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They're you could call them, I suppose, promoters, because they obviously put money into the club. They've all got shares in the club, and when it comes to any decisions that needs to be made, then I've got an AGM on Saturday. So any decisions that need to be made, we have to go to them and get their okay first before anything is done. And then once we get the okay, that's when we start to put the wheels in motion.
So it sounds like, and you mentioned, I've got a vague awareness of CICs from, as you mentioned, football and some rugby clubs have adopted that same model. And it sounds like it has to be a very transparent structure and organisation. There's no secrets. Everyone's on the same page largely. But it does occur to me, Kieran, I don't know if you've got any views or thoughts on it, but it occurs to me that when there's lots of people involved, there's a mix of personalities, there's a mix of opinions. I guess there'll be contrasting priorities and views on a number of things. How in practical terms, how does that play out, and how difficult or easy is that to manage, Kieran?
Well, I'll be honest with you, as up till now, it's been a breeze. It's been easy because we've set out to do what we said we would. We asked everyone to jump in. Originally it was set up for our bond to enter into the National League.
Okay.
Of course, for reasons that we all know about, that didn't happen. And so we had some very generous people offer us some more money, which eventually went towards our foam fence we've got now, or our foam that we've got now, which helped us pass our Nora track inspection. So at first it was for a bond, and then it turned into into a fence fund, so to speak. We're transparent with everything we've done.
Yeah.
We gave all our fans a running commentary what was going on, when we were getting it, what we were getting, and when we were getting it. Because obviously it's always best to let the fans know what's going on, because you go a day, a week or two without letting them know. Especially how we were last year, it was it was a battle. You do one thing and then you get kicked back 2 steps.
Yeah.
So we had to be on the ball as soon as there was a development. They knew about it.
Well, I want to get into some of that stuff, that lower level stuff. But one thing which is quite apparent, again, outside looking, and there seems to be lots of determination and lots of pulling together behind the scenes to ultimately to move forward at Mildenhall. I thought, Kieran, it would just be worth just a very, very quick plotted history of the last few seasons for those who are not so aware of it. So 2023, you touched on it, the Fen Tigers last competed in the National Development League with a strong campaign and some cup success. 2024, the club announced it would sit out the NDL League racing as part of some structural changes and to explore some alternative events and formats. And then last season, disappointingly for everyone involved, it was confirmed that Mildenhall would not be able to compete, largely due to missing a deadline, I think was the official verdict, to satisfy some safety standards, notably the air barrier revisions following a SCB track inspection. So just to kind of lump all that together, is it fair to say, Kieran, that the last few years has been a big test? Have, I guess, manifested a heck of a lot of frustration around the Mildenhall Speedway fraternity. Well,
I mean, I was part of the contingency that tried to get it back going again in 2024. I also run the social media side of it with my wife as well. And I was doing everything I could to keep the interest up. I was emailing people to try and get sponsors because there was, talk of trying to get into the championship. And we tried everything. But eventually Greg Palmer decided it was enough. And I mean, I love my speed, don't get me wrong. But when he said he weren't doing it anymore, it was a mix of, thank God for that, and a bit of a cheese off as well, because, I spent a lot of my own evenings and weekends typing out emails, making phone calls, talking to people I knew, just trying to get a little bit here and there just to see what we could do. But it was never going to happen. Fast forward to last year, we had the track inspection, that Arco stock car fence, Simon, I'll tell you, it's always been there. It just hasn't been as prominent as it is now. It was a little bit lower. Now I think it stands at 1 metre high by 2 metres deep, I think. And then there's some steel stanchions that sit up about, 600 mil high, I believe. But it's always been there.
Yeah.
It's never changed.
And so, Kieran, when you say it's always been there, back in the heyday of Mildenhall, it was always there. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I'm only 21, you see, so I can't tell you that far back. But
I think it's just them steel stanchions now, aren't they? They're a bit more visible because they're new. Obviously, because they're new, that it's a little bit more visible, a bit more noticeable. And I think, obviously, with the way the bikes are now, if heaven forbid you cleared the fence, you got a bit more risk of hitting one of them. But I mean, you don't sit on your bike thinking I'm gonna take off tonight, do you? At the end of the day, the risks are high. Whatever, you're always going to get riders for it. You'll get riders against it, whichever way you look at it. I've ridden it like that. I just see myself as we're doing 4 laps every race. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't help accidents. That's part of it. That's sport. But yeah, just so in case anybody doesn't know, Kieran, obviously, what is the difference between like the Nora League and the National Development League? Just in case they don't know.
Well, for us, you 4 riders, 4 laps, exclusions. That's a part of it. But I mean, there's on the flip side of it, yourself, machine examiners. We don't have to check bikes at a Nora meeting, although I will have our machine examiner check cat-outs at the very least. And then, you get into nitty gritty. We're not ruled by averages either. 6-man teams, not ruled by averages. You don't want to go out with, 7 Simon Lamberts, but, you don't want to, field a weak team either. So that's the beauty of it.
So it's still speedway, it's still thrills and spills, it's just everything's the same. Do you have a special rule, don't you, about a team being behind us or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, if you're 6 points down after 6 heats, you can nominate an opposing rider off 15 metres back, which normally gets a little bit. You can do that twice as well. You can do it between heats 7 and 9 as well if you're still 6 down.
That's quite cool.
And then
a bit like the ex-golden double rule then, because that always really exciting. Yeah.
But 12, 13 and 14 in Nora are a little bit different to normal speedway. Heat 12, 13 and 14, 13, 14 and 15 are nominated. So your 2 lowest scorers go out in 13, your 2 middle scorers go out in 14, and then your top 2 scorers go out in 15. So it always gives you a little bit. And when you see, the heat 15 at the Peterborough meeting, Simon, that was that's a one of a heat, weren't it?
Yeah, like a strong championship race, that, to be fair. So
yeah.
So it's no different. It's just a few different rules, a few different technicalities, and it's still run as a professional sport. And obviously, it's good crowds. I think your crowd was brilliant, and against that I know Peterborough would have took a lot of fans. But I don't know, but just counting heads roughly, I'd have said you had 600-700 people there. Well, fair play to you, mate, and all your team around you, because I've seen smaller crowds at championship meetings, mate. So you must be doing something right. So, yeah, fair play to you, mate. Keep going and keep at it, because hopefully we can, hopefully in time you'll progress and get back to like National League or Championship.
Well, there's a possibility, mate, but I like the freedom that Nora gives you. The freedom that gives you to put on. We've got dates and potential fixtures for this season that you wouldn't normally see. But because we've got the freedom, and the financial implications as well, we pay £230, I believe, for a Nora licence for the meeting. Riders pay for a day licence, which I believe is £5. And then your first aid, your rent, and your riders. That's it. So if you get, we had 703 through the gate for the Peterborough meeting.
Wow.
Admittedly, there was nearly 600 paying 550, I believe, paid. The rest were children and sponsors. But I mean, that's still not a bad crowd on a Saturday night in the cold at Mildenhall, is it?
It was freezing. But yeah, obviously without sponsors, things don't happen.
No.
I think I remember I took a sponsor, or my dad, somebody said your program was very professional and that. The meeting was well run, the track was good. I mean, it's always been a good, fast little track, Mildenhall, to be fair.
Yeah.
The weather, and considering the weather, I think that's unbelievable. I mean, I'd like to maybe next year you could do the Peterborough meeting or a local derby in the summer. You might hit 1,000 because it wasn't warm. I had two sets of thermals on, I reckon.
No, it wasn't.
But no, fair play to you. I mean, it takes courage and balls basically to try and run a speedway meeting, no matter who you are, what you are.
No, we're not a finished article, mate, by any stretch of the imagination. We're still striving to try and improve the product.
Is there sponsorship opportunities and that?
Oh yeah, we've always got heat sponsorship, meeting sponsorship, team sponsorship as well. But it's all there. Well, we're always on the lookout. But as you said, without sponsors, there isn't like sponsors and bums and seats. It's an integral part, especially when you're a self-funded club. I mean, we run a practice on Sundays. We pay for the stadium for a week. We have 3 or 4 days of putting the fence up and getting everything bits and pieces together. Well, while it's up, we might as well use it.
It's another track for the juniors and the kids, or just general people that want to go practice. So
we had after the Peterborough meeting last year, we had 30 flat trackers in, and I had 10 speedway. And then the Isle of Wight meeting, we had after the Isle of Wight meeting, we had GT 140 boys. We had 20 GT 140s, and I had another 10 or 15 speedway riders.
Very good.
But it was always a fear of mine of putting a practice on and having too many in and not giving boys enough rides.
Yeah.
But I mean, we start at 10 and normally finish about 2. Well, at 12, up past 12 time, everyone's blowing they're loading their bikes up.
Yeah.
Particularly the riders as well, because they say it starts costing them after 5 or 6 thrashes around Mildenhall. That starts costing money for service and wear and tear on the bike and that.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to do that again this year. Get some practices on. Get the young boys in 125s or 250s, and just anyone wants a bit of bike time really.
It sounds like a good news story, Kieran, and despite some of the constraints that you might feel that you're under, it feels like you're optimising what you can to the benefit of Mildenhall Speedway. And the Nora, I've never attended a Nora controlled event, but I'm quite intrigued, quite interested by the difference in the meeting format. Some of the things that you identified and Simon actually appealed to me. It would be shiny and fresh and new just to see that week on week in the championship or the premiership. One question, just to get to the kind of crux of the fence, the safety fence issue, please, Kieran. So presumably, I mean, I don't know if you can do justice to this or explain it, but why does the SCB have an issue with it when Nora are quite happy to license and certify that?
Well, I'm not too sure really, because they both use the same insurance company.
That's even more fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the steel fence. Apparently, we were told that we needed a foam fence produced by Champion for us to be able to go into National League racing. That is probably the best part of £80,000. And I don't mind
£80,000.
Yeah,
wow.
I don't mind doing a bit of overtime here and there, but I don't think I'm going to do it. But our fence now is made up of our wooden safety fence kickboards on the straights, and our air fence on the bends, backed by our wooden fence, and then 6 inches of foam that sits between the steel and the wood. Obviously, that's cushioned with the air fence. It's a grade 7 foam, I believe, which is a foam similar to what's used in the fences. A Scunthorpe got one, I believe. Have they got a foam there?
So, yeah.
And then on these stanchions that we spoke about earlier on, we've had a tea cozy made, which basically slips on top of the steel stanchion, which is thicker by about 3 inches in the direction of travel. I mean, God forbid you hit it. Mm-hmm. It's still going to make your eyes water, but there is cushioning there to stop any serious injuries as such. I mean, the track is the safest it's ever been. I believe it's the safest it's ever been. You're not going to, as Simon said, you're never ever going to stop. Yeah. An accident. The only way you'll stop them is not by swinging your leg over the bike, I should imagine.
And Simon, I remember you saying on 360 after that meeting that you were referring to earlier, that you said, and I'm pretty much a quote, you said you wouldn't have raced if you didn't feel safe on that circuit.
Listen, simple as that. I've been captain for Peterborough, I've been captain for Scunthorpe. At the end of the day, your job and your duty is, if the track looks unsafe, you are the representative, basically. You're like the lawyer, aren't you, for the naughty person in court. You know, if I wouldn't ride it, why should them 6? Etc. So, I mean, if I didn't think the track was safe, I'd happily put my bikes in the van and clear off. And if the ref said ref deemed it safe, well, I'll take the fine, I'll take the penalty. I'm not bothered. At the end of the day, it's my life on the line. Yeah. I wouldn't have ridden if I didn't think the track had been safe that night. Kieran, I wouldn't have ridden. It's simple as that. I said, sorry, mate, I'm not riding. But the track was good. I mean, obviously, it was smooth. You got to think they still do stock cars there and that, don't they?
Yeah, they are, mate. Yeah.
So, sometimes you can get a few holes. There was a small hole, I think, turn 3, but I've ridden on a lot worse, and it was good. Obviously, if it had a bit more dirt on it, it'd have been nice. But it's, to be fair, it's plenty fast enough as it is. But if it hit championship level with a bit of dirt on it, Jesus, that'd be one hell of a fast little track, and that would be cool. But yeah, I thought I think I rung you up a few days after, didn't I, and praised you and said, like I say, your programme, your staff, your facilities, your track, everything was good. It was run professional, and you're obviously doing something right because you just said the numbers. So, fair play, mate.
I remember us being...
Carry on.
No, I was going to say, I was talking to Simon the night of the meeting, and I would nip back to him and ask him what he thought, and I think I remember at one point you saying to me, if you do anything else, there's no point in touching it, just let us ride it. And that's when I ran out to the track man and said, put your keys away, mate, we don't need you anymore tonight. If you're going to do it, you're not tough. I remember it clearly, you saying, don't bother, you're not doing anything to it.
You said that one little soft spot, wasn't you? But that was the time of year, that was the weather.
Yeah.
But at least you listen to the riders, because you go to a lot of places nowadays and they'll say to riders, what do you reckon? And if you're a home boy, they'll do it. If you're an away lad, they're not interested. And then when it's knackered, it's knackered.
Well, I mean, that comes back to the whole meeting and us trying to sharpen our tools. What you want is, if you'd have been, knocking us out the park in that meeting after 8 or 9 heats, you'd have been 20 points up. You can guarantee people would have gone home. So you want to try, keep the track, raceable. So everyone, so you keep people, there. It's the product you want. We've had
15 successful, entertaining races. That's what people go for. That's what people want. And there was a thrill, a spill, a pass, or something in every race. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what, we just want bums on seats and people, to come back, So we listen to the riders, if you want something done and you think it's going to help us with the racing, that's what we'll do.
And Kieran, when you've been talking about Nora and what the sort of events that you ran last year and the events that you're looking to run in this year, it kind of seems that you have a lot of support from Speedworth, who are the stadium owners, right? Is that fair to say that they are super supportive of everything you're doing to try and resurrect and run Speedway at Westrock?
Oh, Dean and Terry have been no end of help with us with Speedworth and our dates. Last year, when we were looking at getting back going again, they gave us 14 dates, I believe. Obviously, we only end up managing to do 2 of them, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, they are very supportive of us. They're very forthcoming in their help. They're always on the end of the phone for us. If we scratch their back, they scratch our back. We're ultimately as well. We're using the facilities in the stadium. They're earning a bit of money. We're getting Speedway on. Everyone's a winner.
Excellent. Listen, a momentary pause, please, to welcome 360 Speedway's first ever sponsorship to the channel. We are super chuffed and delighted to partner Maitland Travel, initially for the month of February. Can I encourage, please, that if you are at all thinking of planning an overseas trip, whether it's Speedway themed or not, or even simply to inquire about a holiday, and it doesn't have to be Speedway related, do please get in touch with the excellent, friendly team at Maitland Travel, and they will look after you very well indeed. Do please make a point of mentioning 360 Speedway to Kieran. Back to Mildenhall. Bring us up to date, in terms of 2026 and beyond. So is it fair to say then, Kieran, that as things currently stand, if you were ever to secure Speedway Control Board certification for the safety barrier, etc., that's either going to be due to you investing in the homologated fence that the SEB certify, or else some sort of change in policy that would allow you to enter the national, the NDL or the Championship or the Premiership. Is that fair to say?
If you ask me that question now, if we're allowed to go back in, I'd probably say at this moment in time, no. But because, as I said before, the freedom that the Nora gives us, we're putting decent meetings on. I mean, we had 2 meetings at home last year, 43-45 against the Isle of Wight were one, and then the 46-44 defeat against Peterborough. We're happy where we are at the moment. Like I said, we've got the freedom. We're putting a good product on. We're not ruled by anything or anyone. We've not got to pay a bond to get into the league. Well, why at this moment in time, why would we? We're happy with what we're doing.
Good. I completely understand. It's a frustration from British Speedway's point of view, because we're desperate for more clubs. We've never had so few clubs. But I understand, for all the reasons that you've amplified, that Nora is the immediate future for the Fen Tigers. And let's talk about some of the rider talent that you have. So Suffolk, Suffolk and Norfolk and that sort of part of the world seems to be a bit of a hotbed, and always has been for motorsport. It occurs to me, Kieran, that you have access to a sort of regular pool of up and coming young riders that will don the Fen Tigers race jacket this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got our 6 that we've chosen this year. We had them last year, and we've kept them out of loyalty this season. I mean, the phone's going. A lot of people want rides, have asked for rides and want to come. And that's the good thing as well. A lot of people are texting and saying, if you've got a spare spot, can I jump in, And with the team that we've got, James Shanes, he's probably going to have a few grass track commitments, so that's a ride that someone can jump into. Colsey, he's Edinburgh. He's Friday, but there might be another reason he can't ride. Kenzie's got a National League side, so so we've got a pool of riders that want to come along, and I want to bring the youngins through. Some of the old ones for the experience. If you want to ride, Mildenhall's the place to be. Whether it's for us, against us, we've got some individual meetings that we're thinking about doing as well. So there's going to be plenty of track time at Mildenhall if you fancy it.
Excellent. Well, Kieran, in closing, what message would you send out to the good folk of Suffolk, Speedway minded or otherwise, who might be minded to try and contribute and do something to help what you're trying to achieve at Westrow?
Well, the phone line's always open. The messages are always open. Jump on board. Give us your ideas and your thoughts. We always listen. Look at these businessmen always say the customer's always right. So jump on board and give us your ideas. We'll take them on board and see what we can do with them.
But listen, on behalf of 360, first of all, again, thanks for taking time to talk to us about all things Mildenhall, and it's given me, and I'm sure a lot of people watching, a much better appreciation of some of the trials and tribulations and some of the hurdles that you've already been able to overcome, and some of the ones that lie ahead potentially, and it justifies, I think, Kieran, why you did summarise a couple of minutes ago that Nora is the immediate future, at least for all at Mildenhall. But listen, regardless of Nora or not, have a thoroughly enjoyable and successful 2026 season, and more power to the Fen Tigers.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, so thank you very much to Kieran for giving us the rundown on all things Mildenhall Speedway. I am delighted to say that Kieran is staying with us for Fans Pulse Lap 2, which is part 2 of episode number 5, which will auto start shortly. No need to do a thing. We will be discussing youth and the National Development League.